In recent years, social media has become very prevalent on our daily lives. Teenagers cannot spend more than a minute without checking their phones for notifications. However, with the increase in social media, there also has been a decrease in the mental health of teenagers, mainly girls. Hi, my name is Luisa Brizolin, and today I'm going to discuss in the last 20 years to what extent has social media negatively affected the self-perception of Latina adolescents. Over the last 20 years, social media has negatively affected the mental health, body image, and self-esteem, which all negatively impact their overall self-perception. Firstly, let's establish how adolescents' minds works. As stated by College Board stimulus, the cultural evolutionary trade-off of ritualistic synchrony. Studies on synchrony and conformity found that synchrony made people more likely to copy majority opinions with selecting products, rather than following their personal preferences. Even if this quote doesn't specifically talk about adolescence and social media, we can use the information on it to deduce that adolescents who are in a very hard time in their lives, the time of discovery, are very affected by the opinions of others. This, in addition, with social media readily available, with a lot of opinions from many different people, they're less likely to follow their own personal preferences, and go with trends. Firstly, let's talk about the impact in mental health. Their mental health is greatly affected by the constant comparison of themselves to others in social media. It causes a decrease in mental health, and it can lead to multiple disorders like anxiety, depression, eating disorders, and eating disorders. As we can see in this infographic, we can see some of the signs that social media may be affecting their mental health, like feelings of anxiety and loneliness, bad emotions. They spend less time with family and friends, and specifically in this picture, we can see a girl romanticizing a post on social media, which is a great representation of how they compare themselves and how their mental health is affected by it. Moreover, there's an impact on self-image. With the constant comparison and with social media having millions of people they can compare themselves to, they create an issue with their own self-image. Many images in social media are photoshopped not specifically to make people feel bad, but just to make the picture look better or to represent something better. However, many teenagers don't realize that these pictures are photoshopped and that they are not a realistic representation of people's lives. This creates an unrealistic standard that can only be achieved many times through plastic surgery or being caused by eating disorders, which is the main cause of it. As we can see in this graph, the two things that mostly impact how women feel about their body is social media and TV and movies, because they genuinely represent an ideal society, an ideal standard of a blonde white girl generally. And from the people that observe social media, 87% compare themselves to those images, and from that 87%, 50% compare it unfavorably because many people don't fit the standard. In addition, Latina girls especially don't fit the standard of white, blonde, blue-eyed normally, and then their self-image is hurt by that. Self-esteem is also an issue. again, with the constant comparison, it's gonna cause a decrease in self-esteem and serious disorders like personality disorders, eating disorders, and others. However, the self-pride they have in their ethnicity can have an influence on how much it affects their self-esteem. As we can see in this quote stated by Adriana J. Omana Taylor, growth in ethnic identity exploration predicted growth in adolescent self-esteem. Individuals who report high levels of exploration tend to be resistant to threats to their self-esteem. If the adolescent conforms with their ethnicity and feel included by it, they're less likely to have their self-esteem hurt by this social media posts. However, if they don't feel, and most teenagers don't because it's a time of discovery, and many times they don't feel like they fit in either their ethnic group or in the majority, they're gonna have their self-esteem. However, with all that, social media can also help to bring awareness to the issue with posts being body positive, inclusive, and using its platforms in support of others. Some solutions to the problem of social media is to increase diversity and representation in these platforms and to change the already standing unrealistic standards for women. However, with that, some influencers may refuse to include more diversity in their posts, and there's no concrete way we can force them to do so. Many people may not feel included. Even with all the representation, there may be few people that don't feel represented equally to others. And also, it's hard to change long-standing standards for women, even if nowadays there is a huge movement to change those. It would take time, and it would take time to change those standards. In conclusion, influencers have a really big impact in the self-perception of adolescent Latina girls. The body image issues and low self-esteem can cause a great decrease in their mental health due to the comparisons they make through social media, and that social media can bring awareness to the issue if used correctly. This is my works cited page. Thank you. Any questions?
I do have two questions for you. First question, what evidence did you gather that you didn't use, and then why did you choose not to use it?
So I gathered a couple of evidence is specifically regarding the representation of Latina women in movies and series. However, I decided not to use it because I thought it was too much off topic, even if it showed like how they specifically represent that group. Yes.
Okay. And if you had more time, what additional research would you have conducted on this issue?
So I would have focused a little bit more in specific. Can I restart the last question?
Yeah, of course.
So can you also repeat?
If you had more time, what additional research would you do on this?
If I had more time, I would have done additional research on how the specific mental health issues causes the I would have done more research on the specific disorders that can be caused by social media and the comparison adolescent girls make to it.